Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton locked in a dead heat in two new national polls. Perhaps the most critical question now facing Republicans is whether Trump can get the party's most conservative members behind him and unite the GOP. How's he doing? Seems like he's making some headway. Let's discuss what we've seen recently with Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, chairman of the House Freedom Caucus and member of the House Judiciary Committee. The second committee may be even more important today, Congressman, because of what's going on with the IRS head that I want to talk to you about, the case for impeachment. But first, a little bit of politics in play. Where is your head right now? Are you more against Clinton or for Trump?
I think it's both. I think Donald Trump is starting to unify the party, which is exactly what we have to do. I've said all along I'm for the nominee, I'm for Mr. Trump. But we also have to remember that when you compare Mr. Trump's positions with Secretary Clinton's, there's a big difference. I mean, we saw this last week on the Second Amendment, for example, where Mr. Trump was at the NRA convention. Big difference on the Second Amendment. Big difference on the life issue between Mr. Trump and Secretary Clinton. And probably the most telling thing is when you think about Secretary Clinton, her record on Libya and what she told the American people after 4 Americans gave their life serving their country, the false information, the false narrative she told the American people, where we learned last fall she said one thing to her family, one thing to the Egyptian prime minister, but yet she told the taxpayers and the citizens, and probably more importantly, the families of those individuals who died for our country that night, completely different story. And that right there should, I think, disqualify her from being commander-in-chief.
Congressman, why do you refuse to accept what came out of the intelligence committees about the different stories being a version of different intelligence that was delivered at different times?
Well, the intelligence may have changed, Chris, but her story didn't. What we know is at 10:08 the night of the attack, she said some have sought to justify this vicious behavior as a response to inflammatory material posted on the internet. She was referencing and highlighting the video in the statement that was the official statement of our government. Right. Less than an hour later, she tells her daughter that terrorists killed 2 of our people that night, and the next day she tells the Egyptian prime minister, we know.
So her story did change.
We know. No, let me finish. No, it didn't. She said the next day to the Egyptian prime minister, we know the video had nothing to do with it. It was a planned attack, not a protest. So privately, her story didn't change, you're right. Publicly, her story didn't change either, but it was a completely different message. So you cannot do. And then when she said to the families of the people who gave their life that we're going to get the guy who made this video, again, attributing the motive to a video-inspired protest, completely wrong. So I've seen the evidence firsthand as serving on the Benghazi committee. That right there is just so wrong, and such a contrast, I think, again, when you think about this election and why we're supporting Mr. Trump.
Important point to make, although, again, it does seem as though you're saying you're supporting Trump because of what you feel about Hillary Clinton, and that's fine. You should be behind your party's nominee. No, I get it.
But that's always the case. It's always 2 people running for office.
Well, no, but I get it. But usually what you do is endorse this person and say, I'm for this person. Oh, have you endorsed Trump? Because I thought you said you support him. You hadn't endorsed him. Are you endorsing?
I've said all along I support the Republican nominee and I support Mr. Trump, and that's who he's up against is Hillary Clinton, and that's the choice.
So he has your, just for the record, he has your official endorsement, just to keep the numbers clear.
I've said forever we should win. Whoever wins this primary, we should be for the Republican. Good. Because look at Secretary Clinton's the one on the other.
Got you.
This is as simple as it gets in my mind.
Got you. I just want to keep it clear for the record because we keep a tally of people who say they endorse Trump within the party so we can make a case for his progress in galvanizing the party. You mentioned the Second Amendment. Are you comfortable with where Donald Trump is, for instance, on whether or not there should be guns in schools? Do you think you know his position?
I don't know his position on that. What I know is that he got the endorsement from a pretty good organization last week. What I do know is his record on the Second Amendment is much stronger than hers, frankly, based on that endorsement last week alone.
So the endorsement's enough.
His much better.
The endorsement of the NRA is enough because, you know, he said that gun-free zones.
What I care about is the Second Amendment.
Right.
Part of our Bill of Rights, part of our Constitution. That's what I care about, and he's much better on that issue than she is.
So you're not given any concern about him going back and forth about whether he's for gun-free zones, whether that teachers or certain administrators in schools should have guns or not. He's gone back and forth. You're okay with that?
Look, Chris, there's never a candidate that I agree with on every single position throughout their entire career. I mean, we may have to go back to Ronald Reagan before I can think of a nominee. Clear back to my first election I participated in, 1984, before we can see a nominee who I agreed on just about everything. So that's always the case. There's going to be some of those concerns, but the point is he is much stronger on issues I care about, and frankly, I think going to do a much better job of helping this country get back on the path it needs to get back on.
Make the case for why the IRS head should be impeached.
3 preservation orders, 2 subpoenas. John Koskinen allows documents to be destroyed. 422 backup tapes containing potentially 24,000 Lois Lerner emails, and he allows them to be destroyed with the 2 subpoenas in place. And he knew about the problem with Lerner's hard drive 4 months before he told Congress. And he had ample time in between there where he actually testified in front of Congress and told us, I will get you all her emails, already knowing that there was trouble with her hard drive and with her computer, and waiting 4 months to tell us. You cannot, I mean, any private citizen who's being audited by the IRS and allows documents to be destroyed and then waits months to tell the IRS, they're in big trouble. But somehow it's okay if it's John Koskinen, it's okay if it's the guy who's brought in by the president to clean up the IRS, when in fact he's not done that in any way, shape, or form.
Well, Mr. Koskinen has said he hasn't had enough time to prepare, so we're going to have to wait to see what happens on that hearing. But the one thing that we know absolutely is that while all this is going on, that IRS isn't looking into any dark money from either party right now. So we're waiting for this to end so they can get back to their job of making sure the money's clean in politics. Congressman, as always, a pleasure having you on New Day. Thank you for making the case on the issues that matter.
Thank you. Take care.